Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck,
Spiritual as fuck.
where spirituality meets the real world. I'm Liz Volpe, social entrepreneur, psychic medium, teacher, and founder of the Intuition Academy. I am passionate about inspiring people to dream big and change the world.
I'm Diane Driscoll, a coach, facilitator, keynote speaker, and self-directed healing practitioner. I am fascinated with all things science, spirituality, and self-leadership, and love the journey of incorporating my spiritual gifts into my life and business.
We share real and raw spiritual stories, give you a safe space to challenge what's normal, and have some serious fun along the way. If the podcast isn't enough, we invite you to our monthly online events and workshops with some of the world's best spiritual teachers.
Plus, join our Spiritual Renegades community and get bonus episodes and lots of exclusive content. Everything you need to be spiritual as fuck. Have you heard about Alchemy, the experience? It's not just a retreat, it's a portal to transformation, awakening, and deep connection. Be one of 20 beautiful souls to join Liz and I in Ubud, Bali, for 5 days transformative experience from the 16th to the 21st of May. Places are selling fast, so do not miss out on this opportunity to transform your soul and ignite your magic. Everything you need to know is in the show notes. Today, we welcome the amazing Mitchell Coombes to the show. Mitchell is a spiritual medium who comes from a long line of gifted clairvoyants that stretches back more than 400 years. Mitchell has been a psychic medium for almost 20 years himself, and in that time helping thousands of people worldwide to connect with loved ones in spirit. He is also the author of 2 books, Sensing Spirit and Sensing Psychic, and the beautiful Psychic Soul Oracle cards.
Good afternoon, good morning, or wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to yet another episode of Spiritual as Fuck. Now, you all know by now that Diane and I love a good psychic medium. You know, it's that subject that we get so many questions about. We get so many requests to have more people on. And today we are so excited because we have got a pretty famous here in Australia medium, Mitchell Coombes here. Welcome, Mitchell.
Hello, ladies. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me and having me on the show.
Oh, thank you. And, you know, in terms of what you do, we see you on the TV and in the magazines, and you just are such an incredible, beautiful energy person out there in terms of being a spiritual person. And something that kind of caught our eye straight away when we were researching you, Mitchell, was the fact that you actually come from this huge long line of psychic mediums in terms of your ancestral line. So we'd love to find out and go back to that, if possible, on your family line and how this all started for you.
Well, it's true. I come from a family of psychics and mediums. It's something that has, runs in my family. And I always say, not to quote the famous singer Lady Gaga, but I was born this way. It's something that's so innate to me,
Sing it.
That's it, it's there. And I must admit, I'm so fortunate and lucky to come from a family that was very open to concepts of the psychic world and energy and spirit, because a lot of people, don't have that experience sometimes when they're first discovering their own gifts and their own potentials. But I do. So it runs through my mother's side of the family. So my mum is very intuitive and psychic. She's never practiced professionally for people, but my grandmother read tea leaves, and my great grandmother was a visionary, and my great great grandmother was also psychic, and my uncle was a tarot reader and astrologer. He's since passed. And so I literally come from a world where, we'd often say, right, that in what do you call normal? But in a normal family, they say if you play soccer, if you play sport, if you play football, if you, whatever, that's considered normal. That's what kids do. Remember, I come from a time where, in the mid to early 80s, psychic abilities and psychic intuition and all this, it wasn't really discussed or spoken about. People didn't know about, they wouldn't talk about it. So it was considered to be very abnormal or strange if you were, going to see a psychic or going to see a medium. But the reality is, while most kids played with playing cards, I read them. It's like I literally.
Yeah.
Me, it's something that's just been so ingrained in me from when I was very young. But I must say, my family never encouraged my abilities, and they never discouraged my abilities either. It was I was just left to be, and to see what sort of happens. My mum never tried to push me in one direction and say, "Come on, you can work your intuition," or not. I was just sort of allowed to become who I am, so to speak. And I have to say, I feel very blessed and very privileged to be able to connect with spirit and to be able to help so many people. And every time I've ever tried to stray or walk away from doing spiritual work professionally, I've always been pulled back onto this path. So I've decided that's my calling.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it's interesting, isn't it, that your family have just kind of left you to see what happens.
Yeah.
So what's the earliest kind of memory of suddenly being able to connect with spirit? What was that?
Well, for me, my earliest memories is when I was about 3.5 years old. And, like the little boy in the movie The Sixth Sense, I really was seeing dead people, and they were at the end of my bed, but I actually called them green people.
Oh, wow.
When I was a little boy, I would see these green human luminous-like forms glowing at the end of my bed, and I'd wake in the dead of the night and they'd be there. And I mean, I have to say to you I wasn't afraid or I wasn't scared would be an understatement. I mean, I was actually petrified. Some people say,
okay,
I was terrified as a 3.5-year-old. I had no idea. I thought, oh my God. And I'd run to my mum and my dad and I'd say, oh my goodness, the green people are back. The green people are back.
Oh.
Really quite distressed in the beginning. And it was my mother who actually said to me, Mitchell, do they harm you? Do they hurt you? Are they hurting you? What's happening? Talk to me. And as I told her about what was happening, she said, well, some people can see God's angels, and you'll find that they're not green people at all. They're actually the spirits or the souls of people's loved ones that are coming to talk to you. And if you listen to them, they may have a message for you. And so don't be afraid. But there were so many nights there where I just couldn't get to sleep. My mum had to sit with me and literally stroke my crown with her finger in my hair for an hour or so to get me to go to sleep, because I wouldn't go to sleep, to say, so that was sort of one of the earliest memories I have of seeing the spirit world. But one of the earliest recollections I have is when I was first starting kindergarten in school. So that's, primary school, infant school, for those that are overseas listening. And so when I first started school, I remember my very first day. And, a lot of children on their very first day of school, it can be a little bit upsetting. Parents get emotional. Children are upset. Oh, I'm going to big school now, this sort of thing.
Oh, we know what that's like.
And I have to say, there was this one girl in my grade, in my class, and she kept crying, and she was crying all morning, and she was crying at recess, and she was crying at lunch. And by the end of it, I got really frustrated as a little boy. I said to her, why are you crying? You shouldn't be upset. If anyone should be crying, it should be me. You're lucky. Your mother got to stay with you today all day. My mum had to go home. She wasn't allowed to stay with me. And she burst into tears even more. And the teacher came running over and she said, that boy's being nasty to me. And anyway, as the story progressed, as I got older, I understood the gravity of it all. Her mother had actually passed away.
Oh, wow.
And she wasn't there, but I saw her there clearly as I was seeing the girl standing in front of me, And so it was then that my mum pulled me aside and said, you need to be a little bit careful. You can't always say things, just think before you say certain things, But that was my very first, and I could see her mum clear as day. And that's the thing about our loved ones in spirit. I find that they're with us when we need them the most, whether it's your first day at school and they're not here, whether it's that, it's a birthday, an anniversary, a graduation, a celebration, a significant milestone in your life. I know that our loved ones in the spirit world, they draw close to us at those exact moments. And I mean, I saw that as a young boy in starting kindergarten. I could see this girl's mum with her all day, and it was just so beautiful. But at the time, it didn't bode very well.
Oh, Mitchell, that story, because, for you as a little child, that was all playing out in normal terms for you because that was your experience of the world. But for the little girl, it was like she was probably missing her mum so much on that day in particular. And then to have to bring it to life like that. I think you've just illustrated for us so well what it's like like so many of us kind of awaken to gifts over time, or it happens in a, a big spiritual awakening or some big bang experience. But if you're brought up in a family that is open to this, and God bless your mum, oh, she sounds amazing. Just, to nurture you and to, and again, to not sway you in either direction like that. That's such a beautiful thing. But the challenges then of, all of this seems so normal to me. How do I determine what other people can't see? Because their version of reality is so different to yours. So is there anything else that was happening to you that, as you progressed, realizing that other people are different or they don't have the gifts that you have? Was there any aha moments like that going through?
For me, it was almost very much like, talking to other children, talking to my peers, talking to people, and sort of say, well, wait, you don't see that? You don't see that person over there walking on the other side of the road, or you don't have feeling that right now, and it was really probably through my schooling years that I realized other children, well, a lot of other children didn't really see things the way I saw things. And it made me realize, okay, something's a bit different about me. But originally and initially, just starting out, I'd probably say right up until the ages of maybe 7, even 6 or 7, I honestly believe that everybody could see the world the way I see the world. I didn't really know any different, and it really sort of surprised me. It was more of a gradual thing. It wasn't as though there was some shocking moment that jarred me to go, oh my goodness me, I am very different. And at that young age, my parents never said to me, you have a gift, you are different. It was just like, it was also just like they were giving advice, like, well, you should listen or trust what you feel. Or, I really was instilled from a young age some really wonderful, profound wisdoms, wisdoms like the universe will always provide, and to trust that everything will work out as it's supposed to, and there's a higher purpose for things. And I feel like I was brought up with a very deep ingrained spirituality or understanding. But it was not as though I sort of woke up one day and thought, oh my goodness me, well, I'm very different. It was like a gradual awareness over time where I started to realize. And the truth of the matter is I feel that all of us are born psychic, and I feel that all children are born psychic. And, there's the really famous sort of adage, out of the mouths of babes can five words. And, I wrote about this in my second book, Sensing Psychic, and I share a story which I just loved. And I'm so pleased I got to be part of the experience. There was actually a lady, and I was in the supermarket shopping for groceries, casually looking for, apples, bananas, whatever. And all of a sudden I saw this really poor mum. She must have been so stressed. She's sauntered into the supermarket grabbed her daughter. She was running to the supermarket, dashing in. She was frantic. She's thumbing the tops of rock hard avocados, and she's trying to find a soft one, I guess. I don't know. And she says to her daughter, the daughter's pulling on a dress, and this young girl, and she says to her mum, I want to go look at the toys. I want to go look at the toys. And the mum said, I don't have time. Just please stand still. Just be still. Don't go anywhere. Just know. And she's real frantic, this lady. And anyway, as she's doing this, all of a sudden her daughter toddles off over to a stranger that's on the other side of where we are in the supermarket. And I think, oh, this is going to be so interesting. What's going to happen here? And this little girl, she actually tugged on this elderly lady's dress, and this elderly lady stopped what she was doing, and she looked down at this little girl who smiled back at her, and she said, the little girl, I heard her say clear as day, she said, the man with the funny looking leg is waving hello. The man with the funny little leg is waving hello. He's got a funny leg. He's saying hi. And this woman stopped what she was doing. She grabbed her trolley and she burst into tears, deep, deep, deep sobs. Now, all of a sudden, there's all this commotion happening in the store, and realizing what's happened, the mum looks up from the avocados that she's trying to get for a salad or whatever, and she scolds, Millie, and she races over and she takes her daughter and she looks up at this woman who's just got her eyes are filled with tears. And she says to her, I'm so terribly sorry. My daughter has a really vivid imagination. I'm so I don't know what's happening. My daughter's got a vivid imagination. And anyway, something remarkable happened in that moment. When this elderly lady was able to compose herself and steady her emotions, she'd fished a tissue out of the depths of her handbag. She was dabbing away at her eyes. She actually looked down at this little girl, and she reached for a little hand and she said, do you know, my husband does have a funny looking leg. It was a false leg. It was a prosthetic. It was a false leg, she says to this little girl. And then she stands up to address Millie's mother and she says, thank you. You don't know how happy your daughter has made me, because my husband, George, he was the love of my life and he passed only 3 weeks ago. And
Oh,
I sort of like, this part's not in the story in my book, but I actually ran over and said, you have a psychic child. Listen, I'm not crazy. I do readings. I write for Women's Day. Yeah, here's the magazine. Can you see? I've got a book I want to give you to read, anyway, and I was able to help her. But what a special story. And it showed me that, sometimes we don't realize it, but messages from spirit can come in the most profound ways. It's not always, lights flashing and cupboard doors opening. Sometimes the words of spirit can be delivered to us from literally a young child that says
yeah.
innocently and doesn't realize how special and how profound that moment in time, that special link is with the other world that is, of course, is all around us. And I love that.
Oh, I
And
love
it
that
reminded me of when I
story.
was a young psychic child, because, I remember running up to my mum had a friend coming over to visit one time. And I was obsessed with fire engines, toy fire engines. And so I had all my toy fire engines out in the lounge room and I'm playing around with them. And all of a sudden, I couldn't explain what it was, but I felt compelled to get up. So I got up and I walked over to where my mum and her friend were in the kitchen having like a cup of tea, chatting, whatever. And this is like right back in like the, mid 80s, so early 80s sort of thing, mid to early 80s. And anyway, and so I go over there and they're having a cup of tea and I just interrupt and I say to my mum's friend, you have a baby growing inside you. There's a little person living inside you. That's how I said it as a young child.
Oh, wow.
And my mum and her friend said, what a strange thing to say. Why would you say that? Oh, no, I don't know. Well, what's he talking about? That's a bit crazy. Anyway, it was about maybe 3 weeks later, the phone rang, and my mum's friend on the end of the line, she said to her, how did he know? I didn't realize that I wasn't expecting. I haven't been trying, but I've just found out I'm actually pregnant. And mum
Oh,
said to me, what made you say that? I said, well, the green people. I mean, I had no idea what it was that really, forced me or compelled me to want to get up and just all of a sudden interrupt their conversation, stop playing and say that. But I did. It's sort of like a call, you could say. And so,
Yes.
it's psychic abilities and talking to spirit is something that has followed me my whole life. And yeah, I've just, I love it.
oh, Mitchell, my whole body was lighting up as you're telling these stories. And I'm smiling from ear to ear because I can feel your infectious energy about how much you love what you do and how fascinated you still are by it, even though you're doing this your whole life. And what can I dig into the green people? The fact that that's the term that you use. Do you, and I know it obviously comes from childhood, but do you see that as just being the spirits of people who've passed from this world, who have been, alive, or is there like a multidimensional, interdimensional, or other beings, or maybe guides? What do you view them as, or who are you surrounded by?
I love that question, and I've often thought about it for a long time. For many years, I've often gone back to dwelling on why were they green? Why did I
Yeah.
as green people when I was young? And a few different thoughts have come to me. And my guide, I have a spirit guide who is a Native American guide. And I'll tell you all about that after, because I was a little bit disappointed when I first discovered I had a Native American guide, because I thought everybody has one, and I didn't want that, But anyway, that's a whole other story. But I will say this to you: my guide said to me, first of all, green is the color, as you know, of the heart chakra, which is the
Yes.
love. And the way and spirit world, love is the bridge that links us to the spirit world. Love is that bridge that connects us, And so I feel that in a way, you could almost say, rather than being guides or being interdimensional, I do feel that they were more of a sense of like emissaries of the spirit world, emissaries of spirit. And I feel that green being the color of love, I feel that that's just the way that I was to see it. And maybe they thought that seeing them as green people wouldn't frighten me, but actually it terrified me. But I have to just clarify, like, obviously now with my work and I find that as I get older and as my abilities strengthen and as they grow and as they develop, of course I don't see them as green people per se now.
Yeah.
And we'll sometimes see the spirit world. Sometimes I see the spirit world objectively. So I will sort of see them outside of myself and I can see them around a person. And other times I
Yeah.
would see the spirit world subjectively, where I see it in my mind's eye, in my
Yes.
in my inner eye. And sometimes I will see them as clearly as you and I are seeing each other, and I'm able to describe them. And other times it's more abstract. I may only see like the outline of somebody's hair, or I may see their eyes briefly, or their lips, or a particular feature or something that to draw my attention to validate who they are. But I don't see them as green people as much anymore. But I really do feel it's because of the energy of love, and I feel that that's sort of how I best understood it.
Do you feel like that your green people are sending you a message via Diane and I, seeing as they were both wearing green today?
Well, it's just that it's funny you say that, because I was going to say, especially as Diane, as you're asking that question, I thought you're wearing a strong green, and of course, Liz, you're wearing a subtle green and a green, and I just thought, how interesting. We've got this green going on. I love it. You know, I love,
hilarious.
I love like color is so powerful, and I use it in my book, and I you know, I'm a lifelong learner. Certainly, I've never claimed to know everything. I certainly don't know everything. And I think anyone that does it's a bit questionable, because there's just so much to understand. And I find that's why I'm so passionate all these years later. Every day I learn something new, and I love it. And even when I'm giving readings to people, because, you know, I see clients every week, and when I'm talking to people and talking to the spirit world, sometimes there are messages that come through and I think, oh, I've never heard that before said like that, or I've never understood that symbol, or that's interesting. You know, that's something I need to remember. You know, this is, if I see this again, I know it means this. You know, it's like I learn. I'm also still, all these years, I'm still fine tuning and learning. And I mean, you're only ever as good as your last reading. You've got to sort of always work with integrity, I find, and just and really, I mean, for me, I lean right into my mediumship, probably on the borderline of obsession, because for me, it's my whole life. I mean, I read books on mediumship constantly. I'm always so fascinated by this subject, because there's just so much to learn, to know, to, you know, understand.
I feel like that's so inspiring as well. And that's kind of what we love about the spiritual journey as well. It doesn't matter what we're going through, but the things that we're learning from the guests, it's just constantly learning something. And I'd love to dive in to the subject of spirit guides, because you know, I've done a lot of work with my guides, and I feel like I still don't have a really good understanding, or my understanding might be really different to yours. But tell us about your Native American, and how the hell did he show himself at first? What's the story?
As you heard me say, I mean, this sounds so terrible, and I don't want this to come across like I'm ungrateful or anything, but I was so disappointed at first, because I honestly thought, you know, you hear everyone saying, oh, you know, my spirit guide's a Native American, my spirit guide's an ancient Egyptian, my spirit guide. And I thought, if I have a spirit guide, I feel like I'll have, you know, like an indigenous shaman, you know, I'll have, you know, I honestly just thought, I don't know what I thought, but it goes to show, doesn't it? You think you know something, and the spirit world will say, wait a minute, don't get too clever for your own good.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And for me, I mean, I really believe we all have guides. I believe we all have our angels. We all have a spirit guide. My understanding is we all have at least a master guide that I feel is with us from the time we are born till the time that we cross over back to the spiritual dimension. And then I feel that we have helper guides, or you could say specialist guides, that come in to help us at certain times of our lives. And so maybe you're busy writing a book, and so you may have a guide that can help you with writing the book, or maybe you're composing a song and you might have a guide that's helping you with, you know, composing that song. So I feel we have different guides that come to support and help us, depending on what lessons and what lessons and we're sort of learning at this time in our life, and what specialized area we're focused on. But for me, with my master guide, I always knew that I had a guide with me, but I was always, when I was younger, but I could never really quite grasp who my guide was, who they were, what was their name, all this sort of stuff. And I can remember that there was a period in my younger years, my adolescent years, where I was walking along the beach one day and I found a red feather. And I thought to myself, oh, that's, you know, a sign. You know, feathers are a sign from our angels. They can be a sign from spirit. So I picked up the red feather and sort of took it with me and felt kind of good about it and kept going. And then it was maybe a week or so later, there was another red feather that was near the door of where my car was parked. And so I picked up another red feather. And then, you know, a little bit more time went by. And then there was a third red feather, which I actually happened to find in my shoe. Now, feathers are really unusual. unusual. You know, you don't see red feathers.
Yeah.
I don't see them that often, really. And these were natural. Like there were feathers that had like natural reds through them. I'm not sure what kind of bird that was, but anyway. And so and they're all different sizes. And I gathered them up. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to go into meditation because I'm certain now this is a message from my guide. And so I thought, I'm going to ask in my meditations, you know, what is the significance of these feathers? And I heard a voice say, red feather, I am your guide, red feather. And I had chills. I thought, this is so wonderful. And I said, I want to see you. What do you look like? Can you? So I started saying, red feather, please, can you show yourself to me? Can you help me to understand how do you look? What do you look like? Where are you? These sorts of questions, you know, and then nothing. There was just absolute deafening silence. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm going to ask for a dream because, you know, dreams are one of the most easiest ways that the spirit world and our loved ones can reach through to us from that veil. So every night before I went to bed, I'd put the red feathers under my pillow and I'd say to red feather in my mind, please come to me in a dream. Like, please, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to see you. Please show yourself to me in a dream. And every morning, this went on for maybe a month or two, every morning I would wake so disappointed because the dream that I so desperately longed for never come. Anyway, there was a period there where I was with some friends and I went over to a psychic spiritual expo. And I was browsing the stores and looking at crystals and bits and pieces. And this is very early on in my journey. And then all of a sudden, a lady came up and tapped me on the shoulder and I turned around and she was looking at me and she said, oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but this is for you. And she was holding in her hands like an A4 sized like foolscap sort of envelope. And I went to go to open it. She handed it to me. She goes, before you open it, I have to tell you, the number 3 is important, and so are the red feathers. And I sort of looked at her. I thought, what do you mean? And I pulled a piece of art-like card out, and she actually had drawn my Native American spirit guide that had the red feathers in the headdress. And I said to myself, a red feather, so that's what you look like. And I smiled to myself. Actually, there were 4 red feathers. I'm just remembering my own story here. Good heavens, there were 4 red feathers. That's right. Then there was a 4th red feather, but that came a little bit later on. But the 3 I first found, then I went into meditation, then I found a 4th red feather. And she had put 4 red feathers, that's right, in the headdress. And I still have that picture today.
Oh, beautiful.
There. And I just find it so fascinating, you know, and I said, well, that's what you look like. And so here I am thinking that red feather was going to show himself to me in a dream, where I had to realize that sometimes expectations can block the spirit world. You know, so many say, I'd love a sign, but I haven't received a sign. Why haven't I received a sign? Do they not love me? Or why is this? But when we expect something, sometimes our expectations can block the spirit world.
Yes.
When I relaxed and I forgot about it and thought nothing about it, the spirit world delivered. And boy, did they deliver, you know, and I felt that that was just such a special sort of moment in time for me. And you know, but here's what I say to people: if you're wanting to work with your spirit guides, you know, meeting a spirit guide or working with your spirit guides, to me, is a little bit like when you meet a friend for the first time. When you meet somebody new for the first time, you don't know anything about them, really. You don't know what their favorite colors are, what their fears are, what their phobias are, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what their interests are, what their thoughts are, who their extended family is. You may not know any of this information, but over time, as you get to talk to this person, as you get to sort of know them, as the relationship starts to build, these little facets or these details make themselves known to you. Oh, I know my friend doesn't like this. I know my friend really loves that. I know she's obsessed with this or he's obsessed with that. It's like, you know, we're able to understand. And I find that with a spirit guide, it's not important necessarily to know who your guide is or what their name is, so much as it's important just to trust that you're not alone, to trust that they are there, and to start to talk to them. Just say, spirit guide, please help me if you're there. You know, can you help me with this? Or I know that you're around me, or I feel your presence. Thank you for being with me today. And as you start to trust that they're there, that bridge will build. And those details, much like a friendship, when you're meeting somebody for the first time, it will become much more known to you. So it's not as though you had to, like, I never had to know in the beginning of time who my guide was. When I started even doing psychic readings, not mediumship as much, but psychic readings of people. I had no idea who my spirit guide was. I knew I had a guide, but I didn't know the finer details until a little bit later on in my journey.
Oh my gosh, that is, I love, there's so much beautiful guidance there for people who are trying to, frantically tune into who they're, reveal yourself to me. But it's so true that things come to us in unexpected ways. And, Spirit loves to keep us on our toes. It's never going to be given to us in exactly the way we want it.
Absolutely. And to trust that they're there and to begin working with them, ask them for help, ask them to guide you. I always used to say, and sometimes I still say to my angels and to my guides, please go before me and light the way. Please go before me and light the way. If I'm confused about something, or if I'm uncertain about what path to take, or I have a decision to make, or maybe somebody has a decision to make about what job they should do, or whether to sell a home, or what to do, or they're confused, or they're worried about something, I always just say, when I'm uncertain or I feel I'm in uncharted waters, I always say, please go before me and light the way. And I trust them. And they always do. And it's amazing, when you can, when you fall into just trusting that you're not alone on this journey. I know it's easy to say that. And I understand that if you've lost somebody and if you've lost a lot of family, I know myself, grief is awful and we can feel so desperately and totally alone. Loneliness is a horrible emotion to sort of have to work through and deal with. But I must say, it's sometimes through in the silence and in my most quietest moments that I feel the spirit world draw the closest to me. And, busyness is like deafness to the spirit world. And if you really want to get a good connection with the other world and with your guides, I always say, having those moments of solitude, having those moments of quiet, which of course people probably look at me, Liz and Diane, and say, I don't believe it, because this guy never stops talking. He's a talker, when is he ever quiet? But
quiet time.
But the truth of the matter is, I really have a lot of quiet time to myself throughout the day when I'm not seeing clients and I'm out in the garden or I'm out in nature. And it's, in mediumship, it's called sitting in the stillness, sitting in the silence. And that's exactly what I do, sitting in the power and building up my energies. And I often say to people, years ago, a mentor of mine once said to me, the price of sensitivity, the price of mediumship and sensitivity is loneliness and sensitivity. And at first I never really understood what that meant. I thought, well, that sounds a bit negative. What do you mean by that? But I understand that, sometimes you'll find there are a lot of people who don't always understand, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. And there is a cost to that, because no one will understand something unless they've experienced it themselves firsthand. And that could be with any subject. It's like, unless you've had it, you don't really understand it fully. You kind of do, but you don't, And I found early on, like a lot of my friends, they're not mediums, they're not psychics, they don't understand the world of energy. So, it's like they're not understanding things the way I might see something, So But you have to protect your sensitivity, because I find it is your greatest gift. Our sensitivities are our greatest gift. I always say, if you have a child that's sensitive, protect their sensitivity. People used to say to me when I was younger, the problem with you is you're too sensitive. But as I've gotten older, my thoughts are, the problem with you is you're not sensitive enough.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Which sounds a bit harsh, but I think that's the problem with you. Protect your sensitivity. It's your greatest gift.
Oh gosh. So Mitchell, tell us, now that you're here in our presence, and of course you're a phenomenal psychic medium, is there anything that's coming through for you at the moment, whether it's for Liz or I, whether, like, you've got full permission from me anyway, if anything is coming through for you, or even something that maybe for one of our listeners, is there anything?
Well, I'm just, as you're talking to me, Diane, I'm actually just looking here to the left. For me, it's the left side of you, which for me is your mother's side of the family. And I have a notepad here. Sometimes I scribble when I give messages. It just helps me to know my mind a little bit. So just give me a second, because I must confess, I've been a little distracted as we've been doing this interview. And that's because I have seen several people in the spirit world actually around you, I feel, Diane. And so there's a lady that I feel is touching forward from your mother's side of the family. I'm not yet sure whom she is. I'm waiting for her to tell me. Now, please just say yes or no to me. And if I'm wrong at any time, you can say no to me. But I've got a lady that's touching forward from your mum's side. Your mum's here on the earth, right?
She is, yeah.
Of life. There's a lady of her generation that I feel is touching forward, that's around you, I think. So has your mum lost a sister? That means you'd have an auntie and sister.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
a lady on your mum's side of the family. So your mum's lost her sister?
Yes, my mum has lost her sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, your mum's sister, your auntie, she's not the only person that's here, but I feel that she's coming through rather strong for you at this time. And I have to say to you, I feel that she's reaching out and placing her hand on your shoulder. And it's like I feel she's reaching out to steady you at this time in your life. And then I have to talk about there's like a feeling of a birthday or a celebration that seems to be around the time of her passing, because I feel there should have been a happy occasion that seems to fall around the time of her passing. And then your auntie, she smiles and she's telling me, Diane, she really fought or she battled something. I don't know what it is, but
She did.
I was really strong. And then she laughs and she's laughing. She's got a beautiful smile. I can hear her laughing. She's got beautiful laughter. And she says, and I survived a lot. I lasted a lot longer than what they thought I would, you know. I lasted a lot longer. And I don't know what that means, but she's saying really, it's like she was maybe told she may not, or she had a thought. Someone may have said to her, you may not have a long time to live, or you may not, I don't know, you may not survive something. I don't understand. But she says to me, but I did, Mitchell. I beat all the odds. I beat all.
Yes, she did.
The way she smiles is like she wants you to know that she feels that she lived a full life. That's how she's saying it to me. It's like, I lived a full life. Is this making any sense to you?
100%. And even how you're describing her smile and larger than life personality. Yes, absolutely.
Because it makes no sense to me. And I'm just saying to you the way she's giving this to me, and I'm saying to this lady, can you tell me a little bit more? And she's there, and let's try me again. Sorry, I don't know I've got that quite right. Okay. I'm just here talking to your auntie, and I can see her holding a rose. But I also feel that two things could be. The rose, of course, is for me a symbol of love from spirit world, and roses can be symbolic, but I actually feel it has to do with the name Rose or Rosie or
Rosemary is her name, and we call her
Rosemary.
Yeah, and we called her Rosie.
Oh, Rosie, that's it, because she's saying the rose and she's holding a rose. And I'm thinking, well, roses mean love. But she's saying, no, it means, as I'm saying, it's something like a name like Rose or Rosie. So her name's Rosemary.
Rosemary, but we call her Rosie.
Yeah, your auntie is here. And she is around you. And she's helping you to help your... this is maybe a bit personal. I don't know. You know,
you can say it. You can say it.
I don't want to say anything that's private, you know. But
no, go ahead.
No, your auntie is really helping your mum at this time, Diane. She's watching over your mum. She's helping her. Maybe she's been worried about something, or she's been a little bit stressed or a bit anxious. I don't know. Maybe she's not, but she's certainly watching over her sister. She's telling me that she's watching over her sister. And then who's lost their father? Is that you, Liz, or is that you still, Diane? Am I still with you? Has somebody lost their dad? I don't understand.
Someone very close to me has lost their dad, so I haven't lost mine. But
okay, so wait a minute then. So hold on a second. So what's this dad connection? I'm just listening, and I have a man here, and he's showing me a watch. He's showing me a watch, and he says, oh, I'm pleased they've got my watch. I'm pleased they've got my watch. And I'm going, okay, so that's great, but who are you? What can we do for you? And but I feel like, so your mum, Diane's lost her dad?
Yes.
So that's your grandfather. I don't understand. There's a man that your auntie, that Rosie, your lovely auntie, she's done a great job of communicating. There's a man that's with her, and I keep hearing somebody say, oh, you know, I'm dad, I'm the dad, or I'm dad, and I'm confused about this. I'm a little bit confused about this. Are your parents separated?
Mine, yes.
Yeah. Did your mum repartner?
Yes. Oh gosh.
And is this the man that's passed? Has he passed? I'm confused. I could be totally wrong. But because I don't feel it's your dad, but he's like a dad to you. I'm not saying he'd replace your dad, but it's like it comes through a very paternal instinct towards you. I don't know anything more about this man at the minute. I'm just seeing him there because he's there with your with your auntie. He's there with your
And
sister.
that makes perfect sense because they were actually very close as well. So
Okay.
my mum and her partner and my auntie and her husband would have, gone holidays, done so many things
Because
together.
you're saying to, so this would be like, well, in a way, this would be like your like a stepfather then, or a stepdad, sort of. Do you know what I'm saying? You're this man that's with your mum, and I have to say to you, I can hear, because she's saying to him, come on over, come talk to us. You can come over, and he's laughing. He's got this huge laugh. I have to tell you this. It's like this real, like, deep sort of laughter. It's not like Santa Claus, but it's like a real, like, it's a real laugh. It's not like a superficial laugh. It's like he's like a belly laugh. He's laughing, and he's laughing and he's smiling. And then your auntie is showing me this most gorgeous garden that's all around her, because for her that is her idea of heaven. She has all these flowers and all this floral. I see all these beautiful flowers all around her, and she's smiling about it. Well, she's there with this man. That's why she's talking about your mum, because your mum in some way be grieving for this lovely gentleman that she's lost. And that's why she's coming forward and she says, I'm helping my sister. I'm helping she's helping your mum, you see, because she knows how grief-stricken she's been. And so she's the one, your auntie, can you believe this? Your auntie is the one that actually is being the conduit here. You asked, is there a message? So you rang the doorbell, the door opened, and the first was your auntie. And then this lovely gentleman's come through. But it took me a while to get there, because I kept thinking, oh, it's like, must be your dad, because I felt he connected to your mum. And when you said, well, no, I thought, well, then your mum must be separated, because to me, there's a man here that he loves your mum very much.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a thought, unless your mum had a secret relationship we didn't know about, which of course she didn't. So instead of, I'm thinking, that's why I was thinking this is very personal. I don't know how much I can say to you, but very much, your auntie is very much around. And all I can say to you about your auntie is, she says, Mitchell, can you please tell my family, I have my strength back. I have my energy back. I have my strength back. I have my energy back. And I can actually walk again and do things for myself again. And she's telling me that it's like, I can't quite put look, I'm going to say it to you like this. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I have to say this to you because it's what I feel. I feel like what she passed away from or there was some sort of illness. It's not something maybe you would typically hear about or know about. It's not well, maybe you do. Maybe I'm ignorant. I really don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel like, because I don't want to say it's cancer, but I feel like there's something not right with her blood, and I feel like it caused her to sort of lose weight or lose strength, and like her muscles, her muscle tone almost disappeared. This is sort of how I can describe it to you. Well, anyway, she's very much with you around you. So do you have your auntie's ring, or does your mum have that? Because she's talking about a ring of hers. I think she wanted you to have that.
Oh, I don't. I'll ask my mum, but I don't have anything.
That's all right. Rosie says to me there's a ring that she feels that she wanted you to have. But it doesn't matter, because you don't need anything from our loved ones in the spirit world. Feel close to them. I feel it's important to say to everyone listening, you only have to think of your loved one with love, and they will be with you. They will be by your side. They will be there with you. Diane, I see this, Rosie, I see her very much around, and I just know that she's helping your mum, but there's a man that's with her, and that's the man that I feel your mum obviously involved with and loved very much. And was he causing a bit of a shock?
Yes, it was very unexpected.
Because I just get that. I don't feel there was really any time to really prepare and make peace with the idea of he was going to be departing this world. It was almost as though one day he was here, and then the very next moment I feel as though he was gone. And I just shocked everybody. And it's funny, because, you have Irish background, right? So
I am Irish, yeah.
So I love that, right? And I've always got the idea that Irish are very connected and very spiritual. But the funny thing is that this gentleman in the spirit world, he's kind of like, initially, he was like being a bit of a jokester. He had his arms crossed, and he was kind of like, what's all this then? I can't have this. what's all this? You know, I can't have it. I can't have it. And then you've got your beautiful Auntie Rosie saying, come on in and talk to us. Come on and talk. Come on and talk. And it's like she's almost like gyrating him, like jabbing him, saying, come on, come speak now, talk. You know, this is your chance. And it's like almost ordering him around. But it's sort of like, I have to say, they're so funny and they've got so much laughter and there's so much love.
Yes.
I can feel coming through from both of them, for you, for your mum, and for your family. And I feel the biggest thing that your mum needs to know right now, maybe you could become the medium and you could say this to your mum, is that she needs to really understand in her heart that he feels that she did enough. And it's very important that your mum knows this. Yeah, your auntie is blowing kisses. Rosie, she's blowing kisses. She's blowing kisses.
And I'm blowing them back.
And so is this man, although he's not blowing them in the same way that she is. He's like, yeah. Sending them, but he's a lovely man. He's a beautiful, beautiful natured man. But he's a doctor. Like he's got a, what it is, he has a very dry sense of humor. That's what I hear. But so if you don't understand his dry sense of humor, you might get offended and go, oh, is he having a go at me? Is he being funny? You know, is he this funny business? But it's not. It's just his nature. But that's his essence. And they are still with you and they are with your family and they are sending their love.
Oh, Mitchell, everything you have said, 100%, even down to how you've described them. And honestly, I haven't felt my auntie's energy around me. I always think of her. I always speak to her. But I feel that she has her own kids to look after. So it's such a gift that you've given me.
She's there because I don't mean to overtalk you. She's there because she's there because she's actually saying she's watching over your mum, because see, your mum has really struggled a lot, which understandably so. You know, all grief is horrible. And I say that, you know, grief is like, not to sound crass here, but grief is like a rock that's in your underwear or in your shoe. It's uncomfortable and it's always there. But I find we learn to live around our grief. You know, we learn to live around it. And I feel that, you know, she's helping your mum. He's helping your mum. They're definitely there. They're definitely around. You know, you say, you know, you don't always feel your auntie around, but she seems to really like the photograph that's in the gold picture frame. So I don't quite know who has the photo in the gold picture frame, but she's just said to me, I really like the picture in the gold picture frame. Is that something that you have or your mum has, or what does she?
My mum has a photograph that's actually both my mum and my Auntie Rosie out in Australia. And I can't tell, I can't remember whether it's in silver or gold, but it's in a metallic frame.
It's in, well, I see that. And she really, really likes that picture because that's one of her happiest memories.
Oh,
she remembers fondly. And so she's there, she's around. And I hope that that's a little something.
Oh, Mitchell, I need to give you an extra validation. So this, when you mentioned, and you just said it off the cuff, you said about it's like the doorbell rang and they're looking to come in.
Yeah.
My doorbell rang literally a minute before you said that. So my doorbell has rang. And as it went, I thought, oh no, I'm on a podcast. I hope it's so just
I didn't hear it come through. Did you hear it come through, Liz? I didn't hear it come through on the recording.
Oh, I can hear it. I've got headphones in, so it's probably not picking up on the mic, but it's, so I'll have to listen back to it. But it was literally about a minute before you said it. It was almost preparing, like I'm a blubbering mess right now that knows what the makeup looks like. I don't care. But it was like almost preparing me for, okay, something's going to go.
Well, that to
me, thank you.
That's a validation for you as well. That validating for you that your auntie is around you, that she does love you, that she's there with this man that was your mum's partner or lover. He is there. They're coming through together. They're watching over your mum. They're helping her. But your auntie especially is there. You seem especially close to her. And I don't know. I don't know if this is one of the earliest times that she's come through to you, whether she's come through a medium to you before, but she certainly makes me feel like saying to you that this is, for her, she makes me feel that this has been a long time coming. And she's telling me that she really wanted to take this opportunity to come through today to say hello to you and to let you know that she absolutely is there. And I feel your love for her is so deep and so profound and so strong that it's not that I would say your grief blocks her, but I feel that sometimes it's like,
yes,
it's like a blanket that's there that you carry that you don't talk about, but it's there. Well, it's the first thing that I see as you sit before me is I can see her around you. And I And I, but it said she's holding the rose, and I thought it's like, but then she's like, it's like, so I'm glad that books. And when you said rosemary, I thought, well, I was wrong, but actually, rosemary is
No,
makes sense.
it is
And she
absolutely.
gives things to me in a way that you will understand them, and that's how you call her Rosie. That was her name. So she's very much with you and around you and sending her love.
Overwhelmed. Thank you, Mitchell, so much. Absolutely beautiful.
I want to give you a big hug through the
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
That was so beautiful to watch. And I have to say, Mitchell, you have the most incredible way of communicating a message. That was really mind-blowing, honestly. I would love to know after
they do a great job. It's, I always say I really am just the vessel. I say it's from spirit through spirit to spirit. I'm just the messenger.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you just
but
have
I appreciate your very
beautiful
kind.
gift. Beautiful gift. In your opinion, you're going out every day and you're delivering these incredible messages, and you're gathering so much evidence of the signs and the synchronicities. And in your opinion, what happens when we die? Like, where do we go? Are we just kind of sat around and waiting for a medium to cross our loved one's path to deliver a message?
Well, I've only been shown glimpses of what happens when we pass away. And one of the glimpses that I've been shown, of course, we all go through what I call the tunnel. We go through a tunnel, we move through the light, so to speak, to the other side. And I believe that every single one of us gains entry into the afterlife. I don't believe it's only open for a select few. If you do good things, you'll get there. If you do bad things, you won't. If you're this religion, you'll get there. If you're not that religion, you won't. I don't believe that. Every soul, believe it or not, I find moves into the spirit world, moves into the afterlife. And I sometimes upset a lot of people because I often say when somebody passes in a really traumatic or tragic way, they are never, ever, ever stuck. Like I have a lady that came to me once, and I remember saying to her, I have your son here, and he tells me that he took his own life. And she said to me, no, my son didn't take his own life. He was involved in an accident. It was an accident. And I said, but he's showing me that he took his own life. And she said, oh, you're so right. He did. But if we had put down that he had taken his own life, he would have never been allowed to be buried in the particular cemetery where she wanted him to be buried, because that religion had a belief that if you take your own life, you're in purgatory and you're not allowed to go to the spirit world. And so she was telling everyone, no, my son was involved. It was an accident. He fell. It was an accident, but it wasn't. He had taken his own life. And it really broke my heart to hear a mum saying this about her beautiful son. And I say in every event, I do events where I do readings for, people like a live audience. And every time, if you've been to any of my events, you'll have heard me say this till I'm blue in the face, and I'll keep saying it. I always say, whenever I bring through anyone that's taken their own life, I always say to the audience, I want everybody here to know today that if you've lost someone that's taken their own life or has passed in a really tragic way, please, please, please know that they are safe, they are well, they have made it to the other side. There is no such thing as purgatory. The only way to believe in limbo is to take the stick and do the dance. It just doesn't exist. And I'm not saying that some souls don't choose to remain earthbound or closer to the earth for a period of time. Some do, but the ability for us to move over to the spirit world is always there for every soul. And we can always find our way toward the light and find our way over to the spirit world. And when I actually was 12 years old, I had, you could call it a near-death experience, basically. I had an interesting experience. I grew up near the beach, and I was with my friend, and really high swell and strong waves had washed away bankments of sand that created like these steep sort of like cliffs of sand, like a ledge of sand. And me and my friend were walking along the edge of the sand, and it was sort of, breaking under our feet and sliding down. We're running along and having a great time. And all of a sudden I had done this, and a lot of sand fell out from underneath me, and I was only a very thin, sort of tiny, small child. And the sand actually fell on top of me, and it was just enough. Believe it or not, when you're buried in sand, it's actually
heavy.
You wouldn't think so, but actually, when your whole body is, it's really quite hard to actually wriggle your way. Like it's bizarre. And I remember it was over my face, and I had longer curly hair. I had really long curly hair when I was a bit younger, a bit wild. And my friend could see some of my hair sticking out from under the sand. But and maybe I'd panicked as well. I actually stopped breathing a little bit. I wasn't able to I lost my breath, and I started to feel very light. And all of a sudden I felt myself lift up and out of my body.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember saying to myself, what's happening to me? What's happening? What is this? And that's when I heard, and in fact, it's the first time I actually heard my spirit guide's voice without really knowing who my spirit guide was, who said to me, it's okay, Mitchell. This is what it feels like to die. And I remember saying, but I'm 12. I don't want to die. I'm 12.
Oh, gosh.
And the voice said, I know you and I have work to do. And with that, I felt myself snap straight back into my body. My friend was digging around my face, I guess, because he'd seen my hair, and he accidentally kneed me in the ribs. And when he did that, I took in a huge gulp of air, and sort of, came to. And I was so scared and I was so terrified. I thought I'd be in so much trouble that I never spoke to anybody. I never told my parents. We never told our parents about it. And in fact, it was many years later, I write about that story in my book, and my mother read my book and she said, you never told me when you were 12 that happened. Well, go back to the beach, on your own ever again, because we literally lived one street away. So as kids, we'd walk down and we were told, we wouldn't go in the water, but it's like we'd just play around the sand dunes,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So anyway, the things I did, I was so naughty. I should never have done that as a child. It's dangerous, and my poor mother wouldn't have had any idea. I would have said, I'm going to my friend's house, and we would have just decided to take off and go somewhere else, But my point to you is, so there was a sense of lightness. There was a sense of feeling like a weightlessness. It felt pure. Although I wasn't calm in the moment, I was concerned what was happening to me. It actually did feel very peaceful. Everything felt very real to me. And I liken being in the spirit world much like when we go to sleep at night and we dream. So if you think about when you perhaps remember having a dream where it's been really vivid in your life, you go, oh God, that was such a vivid, goodness, that was such a vivid dream. And you think to yourself, like, goodness me, the person that I was dreaming about, they looked so real. Everything felt real. My emotions felt real. It felt like I was there talking to that person. I was having a conversation. I felt the emotions of excitement or fear or danger or joy or whatever the emotions were. And then you wake up. So you did all of that, but without a physical body. And so being in the spirit world is much like when you go to sleep at night and you dream. Everything, you have experiences that feel real. You have conversations that feel real. And I find that from what I've glimpsed and what I've seen, the other world and the other side is very similar to what we have this side, that the colors are much more vibrant, they're much more brighter. There is a similar topography even. And I find that we go to a level or a realm, or we're surrounded, you could say, in an atmosphere that best reflects how we have lived our earthly lives. And that's why I say it pays, it makes sense, and it pays off to be a good human being, to be a good soulful being, to be kind, to be honest, because your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your deeds, I really have found that they do often echo over into the spirit world and they greet you in the afterlife. Yeah. So
What an explanation. I feel like you just answered a lot of questions there, Mitchell.
it's like there's a story of a man. It's like a little fable, it's a little story, but the story is there's a man who passed away and he got to the spirit world. And on the earth, he was a very rich man, a very wealthy man. He was a millionaire. He had all the money in the world. He had everything he ever wanted. He even had servants that worked for him. He thought he was great. And he passed away and he got to the spirit world. And there he was greeted by his angel. And the angel, he said to his angel, what is this place? Where are you? And they're walking down a long corridor and they stop at this first room and he sees all these busy angels in there working away frantically, really busy. And he says, what is this place? Where am I? And the angel says to this man, this is the department from earth where all of the requests and prayers for help and pleas for help and guidance and divine support are received. And he said, my goodness, it's very, very, very busy there in this realm. And the angel said, yes, it's very busy in this department. We can't keep up. And they kept walking down along this long corridor and they came to another room. And in this room, it was twice as big as the first room. And there was twice as many angels. And they were frantically busy packing boxes and packing things up and really busy. And he said, wow, there's really busy in there. So we can always use an extra pair of hands in this department. He said, well, what is that? He said, this is the department where all of the prayers actually dispatched. Everything's packaged up. They're packaged up and they're sent back to earth. And anyways, wow. And they kept walking down and they came finally down to a very tiny, small room at the end of the corridor. And there was just one angel in there sitting very idle, doing absolutely nothing. And the man said to his angel guide, well, what's that angel doing? If they're so busy in there, why is this angel in here doing absolutely nothing? And this angel looked back at this man with tears in their eyes and said to him, this is the department of thanks and gratitude and kindness, and very few are ever expressed. she said to this man, we helped you so much through your life, but very little gratitude did you give back to us. And I always say, we talk about manifestation as well, a whole other topic, but it's, ask, believe, receive, and then remember to say thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So it's the appreciation, it's that gratification, it's the gratitude that actually helps to build our connection. So when you receive a sign from a loved one in the spirit world, don't just say, oh, I received a sign, great. Stop for a moment and say, thank you so much for being with me. And even if you don't know who it is, thank you, angels, for my sign today. Thank you, Dad, for my sign. Thank you, Auntie, for my sign. Thank you, Mum. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Grandma, Grandpa. Thank you for my sign today. And just also, I would just like to say on signs, because, there are so many ways that our loved ones can come through to us, whether it be through seeing birds or finding feathers or butterflies or pennies from heaven. And a lot of people sometimes will say, Mitchell, I don't see any of these signs. I write about this in my books. I talk all about signs. And they say, I don't see any signs. Sometimes when you're driving along or you're walking or you're busying yourself doing whatever task you're doing, and then all of a sudden, for no reason at all, a thought from a loved one who's passed just pops into your mind. You're suddenly thinking of them for no reason. There's trust that in itself is a sign. They're saying hello from heaven. They're saying hello to you. They're entering your thoughts for a reason. That in itself is a sign. And quite often it's the number one sign that most of us miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I need to go and buy every book. I need your oracle cards. I need to come to a show.
You're so welcome as my guest anytime. You're
Oh, gosh.
always welcome as my guest to come.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, it's super generous with your time. I feel like everyone listening is going to go and check out everything that you do. And of course, we are going to share every link just so people can follow along and witness more of your incredible gift. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Oh, thank you so much. The pleasure has really been all mine. And thank you again for inviting me on and just allowing me a chance to share some of my stories with you. I really do hope that I've brought you some inspiration and Diane, I hope that message really does help you.
Oh, Mitchell, and not just a gift to me, but a gift to my entire family. Like this is, words can't express. I'm a mess. But in the best possible way. I have so much love, so much gratitude in my heart. And now I know, because even you've given me that reminder as well, that those little drop-in moments that we think aren't signs, they are signs. And yes, my auntie and Connie, my mum's partner, are always around me in those ways. I'm always thinking of them. There's always those drop-ins. So it's beautiful to remind that, we don't need the feather. We don't need the, the 11:11 on the clock, the penny. Exactly. It's those things. It doesn't have to be. It is those moments where they just drop into our consciousness. Yeah.
And that in itself is a sign, Yeah. And if you do see a sign and you see a butterfly or and you think, or a bird, and you think, I don't know, I feel that's from someone, but who is it? Just stop, close your eyes and say to yourself, who is this, please? Who is this? And take the first impression or thought that enters into your mind. It's my mum, or it's my dad, or it's my brother, or it's my friend, or it may not, but you may find that if you just stop in those moments when you are receiving a sign, if you don't know who you feel the sign is from and you want to know, just stop and say, who is this from, please? Who is this? And just be quiet and listen and take the first impression that comes into your mind. And then the biggest message, of course, is trust the signs, trust yourself and trust the signs.
Oh, yes. Wonderful.
And I know that your amazing team have said they're going to send us a couple of goodies of yours, books. So we'll definitely be doing some type of a giveaway. So if you are listening, head over to our Instagram page, which is just at spiritual.a.f, and look out for these giveaways as well, because I feel like, a great gift to give people as well as read yourself. Mitchell, thank you again. We can't wait to have you back. Perhaps we'll persuade you at some point.
Oh, I'd love to come back. Absolutely. And thank you again, and lots of love to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mitchell.
That's it for another episode. Thank you for listening.
If you're looking for a place to feel at home and want to level up your spiritual game, head to our website, spiritualaf.co, to check out our upcoming online events and for information on how to join our Spiritual Renegades community.
Plus, leave us a 5-star review with an awesome comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we're going to send you a free ticket to one of our Supercharged session events.
Until next time, stay spiritual as fuck.